Okay, ready to dive in? We're talking about the universe today, but like you've never heard it before.
I'm excited.
This is going to be good.
Yeah.
We're digging into Dr. Khalid Walid's Al-Daba, the rhythmic heartbeats. And it's all about finding these crazy connections between what science is telling us and, well, spiritual interpretations.
Yeah, and Dr. Walid is like the perfect guide for this. He's a scientist, right? But he's also super into the Quran.
Exactly. And it gives him this whole unique perspective. Like he looks at the Big Bang, which we always think about as like this huge scientific thing.
Right.
And he connects it to how the Quran describes this great splitting.
It really makes you think like maybe those ancient stories knew something, you know?
I know. It's like he's found this missing link between like modern cosmology and these ancient verses. It's mind-blowing. But it gets better. He then says that water is like the most important ingredient in the universe. He calls it the material of cosmic creation and control. It's like the lifeblood of everything.
And it's so interesting because scientifically speaking, we know water is essential for life, at least life how we know it, right?
For sure.
But Dr. Walid, he takes it a step further. Like, think about water, its properties, it can dissolve things, it regulates temperature. Those are crucial for life to even work.
Totally.
What if, and this is a big what if, those properties are actually fundamental to the universe's structure itself? Not just life, but everything.
Whoa. Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's deep. And it gets like even more out there. So Dr. Walid, he's like, hold on, all those stars and galaxies, they're not just pretty decorations.
Right.
He even brings up that line from Psalm 19.1, you know, the heavens declare the glory of God.
The skies proclaim the work of his hands. Yeah, I love that verse.
So good. But his point is the heavens have this bigger purpose.
And scientifically, that makes sense. Celestial bodies are the universe's architects, basically. They're gravity shapes galaxies. Like, it determines where planets can even form, you know?
Wait, really? I mean, I know the sun is essential, obviously.
Of course, yeah.
But other stars actually impact us all the way out here.
Oh, yeah. Think of it like this: the sun's gravity. It keeps Earth in orbit. That's kind of important for us to exist.
Yeah.
But the gravity from other stars, even really far away ones, can actually mess with the paths of comets and asteroids, and those can have huge consequences.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that. So it's like everything's connected.
Exactly. It's this cosmic dance, right? And that's a huge part of Dr. Walid's whole point. He sees the universe not just as this random collection of stuff, but this interconnected system where everything has a purpose, a role to play.
It's kind of beautiful when you think about it like that.
It really is.
So we got the Big Bang as this great splitting. We've got water as this potential like universal life force. And the heavens are way more important than most people realize. What's next?
Well, this is where Dr. Walid introduces this super cool concept. He calls it Daba.
Daba.
Yeah, Daba. Basically, he's saying it's anything with a pulse, anything with a heartbeat. But he's not just talking about a literal heart, you know?
Yeah, that was going to be my question, actually.
It's more like he's trying to get at the core of what it means to be alive, to have this inner rhythm, this energy. He's saying this Daba, it exists in anything that moves, anything with a life force, anywhere in the universe. It could be a tiny ant, or even the wind moving through the trees. It's like this pulse of existence.
That's so different from how we usually think about life, though. It's way more expansive.
For sure. And get this. Dr. Walid actually breaks Daba down into 3 categories. You've got the creatures that crawl,
Okay.
the ones that walk on 2 legs, like us,
Right.
and those that walk on 4. It's his way of recognizing how diverse life on Earth is, but it also makes you wonder about life beyond Earth, you know?
Okay, now we're talking aliens. Is that what you're getting at?
Well, think about it. We're sending probes to Mars, we're studying the atmospheres of distant planets, we're looking for signs of life, right?
Right.
What are we really searching for, though? Water, for one. All those elements that we know support life as we understand it, but what if our definition of life is, like, way too limited?
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. What else is out there that we can't even imagine?
That is the question, and it's a question that both science and spirituality are trying to answer. And this is where Dr. Walid leaves us with his final point. He says, remember, Earth, it's just this one small part of this huge, incredible creation. He actually quotes Quran 21.30 here, talking about a universe so much bigger than we can even really grasp.
Whoa. It's humbling when you put it like that.
Absolutely.
Our planet, everything we know, is just a tiny blip in the grand scheme of things. But it's also exciting if Earth isn't special, if there are other forms of Daba, like he says. man, the possibilities are endless. So we're talking about this huge universe, maybe full of life, and we don't even realize it.
Right.
It's a lot to take in. But where does Dr. وليد go from here?
He brings us back to that main idea about water, that material of cosmic creation and control. And he connects that right back to the Quran.
I see it.
Specifically to 21.30, actually.
Okay.
It talks about how the heavens and the earth were like this one thing all closed up, and then they got split apart.
Right.
And it says everything that's alive was made from water.
Okay, so he's connecting that verse back to the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
Like the great split. That wasn't just the universe expanding, but it was also the creation of like the stuff that would become water.
Exactly. He's saying that event that created hydrogen and oxygen, the building blocks of water.
Right.
Which then led to everything else we see.
It makes you think, though, about how the Quran talks about things.
Yeah.
Like saying creation happened in 6 days, that sounds kind of literal.
Yeah.
But science says it took billions of years.
And this is where I think Dr. وليد is really interesting.
Okay.
He gets into how those days, they shouldn't be taken literally, like 24-hour periods.
Okay.
Instead, he says they're like these big epochs or phases and how the universe changed and developed.
Oh.
Like those days are more like these huge shifts in the timeline of creation.
So instead of saying something different than science, the Quran is speaking in a different kind of language.
Right.
Using metaphors to talk about these massive amounts of time.
Yes, exactly. And I think what I find so fascinating is he takes this idea of time and creation and connects it to the idea of purpose.
Purpose, right.
He points to Quran 11.7, where it says that Allah created the heavens and earth in 6 days and put his throne on the water to make evident to you which of you is best indeed.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just that the universe was created, but that there's a reason why. And that reason has to do with us with humans.
That's the idea. It's powerful.
It is.
He seems to be saying that creation is a test, a way to see what humanity will do.
Oh, wow.
How we live our lives, the choices we make that determines what happens to us.
Man, that is heavy stuff. It's not just about looking at the stars being like, whoa, the universe is big.
Yeah.
It's like the whole universe is this giant classroom, and we're here to learn and grow.
Yeah, and how we treat each other, how we treat the universe, even ourselves.
Right.
All of that becomes part of that test.
It's kind of humbling and empowering at the same time, don't you think?
Totally.
On the one hand, our worries seems so small compared to like the hugeness of everything.
Yeah.
But also it's like we can actually do something. We're not just along for the ride.
It makes you think about your place in the universe and how your choices matter.
This is what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
It's not just learning. It's like you see everything differently.
I agree.
And Dr. وليد really makes you do that.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, a part of me is still like, whoa, I can't even imagine how big this really is.
It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, if Earth is just this tiny planet in this giant universe, what does that mean about humans and where we fit in?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Remember Dr. وليد talking about Daba and how it could exist in ways we don't even get?
Oh, right. Like maybe our definition of life is too small.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to one of his most profound and maybe unsettling ideas.
What's that?
That we are not alone.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Aliens with other dimensions. Tell me more.
Well, maybe not like in the movies,
Okay.
He doesn't say exactly what's out there, but he wants us to think about the possibility that there could be other intelligent Daba out there.
Right.
Maybe with civilizations that are totally different from ours. Technologies, ways of understanding things that we can't even imagine.
It's kind of exciting and scary all at the same time.
For sure.
Like, what if somewhere out there are other beings looking up at the sky, asking the same questions we are?
It makes you wonder.
It does. And maybe they have their own stories, too. Ancient texts
Yeah.
that talk about a universe with a purpose.
Mm.
A universe where water is the key to understanding it all. It's like we're in a sci-fi movie or something. This idea that the universe is just bursting with possibilities we can't even wrap our heads around.
I know. But the thing is, this isn't some made-up story. This is like the biggest questions humans have ever asked. And Dr. وليد is right there with us, exploring it all with this amazing blend of science and spirituality.
It's like he's saying, look, we don't have all the answers, but he's still inviting us to explore these big ideas, using everything we know from science and spirituality.
And you know what? It's like they actually work together instead of against each other.
Yeah.
Like they're both showing us different sides of the same truth.
Yeah, like when he talks about how everything's connected, it's not just some like spiritual idea anymore.
Well, right.
When you think about the Big Bang and water, it's like, whoa, maybe science is actually showing us how we're all connected.
Exactly. It's not just a theory when you think about it. It's like the oceans literally connect continents.
Right.
Rain falls everywhere on Earth. The water in our bodies is the same water that's in the oceans and the clouds.
Yeah.
It's all connected, just like he's saying.
It's crazy when you think about it like that. Like, we're all part of this huge system.
We are.
And even our smallest actions could be having these ripple effects we don't even realize.
And that brings us to something else really important in Dr. Wolid's work. The whole idea of perspective. Like, he really wants us to see the universe differently, to be open to possibilities, even if they seem strange or impossible.
It's like when you're looking up at the stars and it finally hits you just how vast everything is.
I love that feeling.
It kind of makes your problems seem smaller, but not in a bad way.
Right. It reminds you that you're just one small part of something much bigger.
Exactly. So we've come to the end of another deep dive. Any final thoughts for our listeners? What's like the one thing you really want them to remember from Dr. Wolid's work?
You know, I think it's this. Never stop asking questions. Be curious about the universe, about spirituality. Don't be afraid to explore and learn, and maybe even change your mind about things.
I love that. And don't just take our word for it. Dr. Wolid's book has so much more to dig into.
It does. It'll really make you think.
So to all our listeners out there, keep looking up at those stars, keep asking those big questions, and never stop exploring.
Here's to the mystery
and the wonder of it all. See you next time.